Hi again. In this video, I will be talking about some strategies to meet the capacity and to meet the demand. One of the capacity strategies that we use is called leading, which means leading the demand. What does that mean? Build capacity in anticipation of future demand increase. So, for example, if you are expecting that you will increase, the demand will increase by 10% next month. So basically you're saying, well, I'm expecting to increase the demand for the next month. So I will go ahead and lead the demand instead of, following the demand. So leading the demand is you anticipate the future demand and you build your capacity based on what you expected, that you forecasted the demand. The second one here, the following, which is basically building your capacity based on the existing demand. So you have already the demand and build capacity when demand exceeds current capacity. So you already have the demand. You know that you can't meet the demand. Therefore, you have seen it in your eye that these are the demand. So therefore, we have to do something to meet the demand. So it is the demand is happening, and then therefore you say, I wanted to meet the demand, and this is how I'm going to build my capacity. The third one here, the tracking, which is basically similar to following the demand. You already the demand exists. However, it adds capacity in a small incrementals to keep pace with increasing demand. So that's what we use sometimes. The three strategies. One is the leading, which is you are ahead of the demand, so you're basically leading the demand. The demand is expected. The following is the demand is exist, and you're trying to meet the demand, or tracking the demand, which you build small strategy to build small increments to keep with the demand. You don't want to build the whole factory and your whole factory just to meet the demand. So you start saying, okay, well, I want to just meet 20% of the extra demand, and I will do this over the next 5 months. By the next 5 months, I will be meeting this 10% increase in the demand. Another strategy we use, it's called capacity cushion, which is basically an extra capacity used to offset the demand uncertainty. So now these days, especially, we know we see uncertain demand. Therefore, we need, as operations managers, to meet that uncertainty. Even it's not, no one can predict it, no one can know about it. However, what would you do? And there's a small calculation you could use, which is capacity cushion would be 100% minus the utilization. So in a different way, what we could say utilize your facility in a better way to have this cushion in your capacity. And one capacity, when it's used, if you have a greater demand on uncertainty, typical have a greater capacity cushions. What does that mean? That means that whenever you have a higher level of uncertainty, you have to have a greater level of capacity cushions. However, if your organization is using standardization and standardized products and services, you don't need to have a large capacity cushions. However, you need to have just a smaller capacity cushions, because you already have a standardized product and standardized process, so there's no much different. All right, now moving into the steps to do the capacity planning. First of all, what you need to do is estimate the future capacity requirement, what is needed. So that will be basically demanding. We will talk about the demand techniques in the next chapter. You need to estimate the future demand, and then number 2 is evaluate existing capacity and facilities, identify the gaps. So, okay, what we can do right now. And then 3, identify alternatives to meet the demand. Number 4, conduct financial analysis. So, okay, well, if I want to buy a machine, is that worth it or not? Can I buy 2 machines? Can I hire 2 more people to be able to serve these customers? Once you conduct the financial analysis, you assess qualitative issues. So you could also consider something non-financial analysis. You could consider, the competitions, maybe the stress, maybe the economic, the environmental impacts, and something like this. Number 6, select the best alternative for the long term. So you say, okay, based on what I've done from a financial analysis, from non-financial analysis, I would like to pick this alternative as a long-term solution. Number 7, implement alternative. So implement alternative choosing. What you have choose, you have to implement it. And then the last one, which is monitor the results and make sure that you impact the results. So let's take a look into calculating the process requirement, and we will take a few examples here. The first example is, or the first equation that we will be talking about here is the calculation for process requirement. Okay, see, basically, we need to know how many machines needed or how many employees needed. Can be calculated by finding the total standard processing time times the demand divided by the processing time available for you. That would help you to plan on how many machines is needed to meet the demand or how many workers. All right, let's take a look into this example. So we have this example: manager must decide which type of equipment to buy, type A or type B. Type A equipment costs $15,000 each, and type B costs $11,000 each. The equipment can be operated 8 hours a day, 250 days a year. Either machine can be used to perform two types of chemicals, C1 or C2. Annual service requirement and processing time are shown in the following table. So we have this table to give us what's the demand and the processing time for each chemical type. They're asking us which type of equipment should be purchased and how many of that type will be needed. The goal is to minimize the total purchase cost. All right, so now we have C1 with a demand of 1,200 and C2 with a demand of 900. For type A machine, we need 1 hour to process the 1,200 and 3 hours to process the 900. If we choose machine B or type B equipment, we need 2 hours to process the 1,200 and 2 hours to process the 900. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to find out this demand. This is basically what is the demand for each type, what the machine can do. So for machine A, if we need to handle this demand, we need 3,900 hours. And for machine B, we need 4,200 hours. Also, what we need to do, so this is what we did what we need to meet the demand. So this is basically the demand. And now we need to find out what is our current capacity. Current capacity would be 8 hours times 250. That will give you 2,000 per equipment. So that would be what is the available. Now, if we divide the demand, which is the 3,900 by 2, that will give you about 2 machines we need of type A. If we said, if we selected part B, we need 4,200 divided by 2,000. That will give you about 2.5 maybe, and this you have to round it up, so you need a 3 machine. If you selected machine B, then you have to have 3 machines of B and 2 machines of A. Now, if we said 2 machines of A, 2 times 15, that would be 30,000. 3 machines B, that would be 3 times 11,000, which is equal to 33,000. Therefore, machine A should be selected. All right, so we can do this on Excel. So I'm going to do and try it on using Excel. So give me a second so I could share my Excel with you here. Just a second. All right, let's go ahead and now share with you the Excel sheet. So I'm going to share this one here. So this is the example that we have. And what we have product C1 and C2, chemical 1 and chemical 2. This is the annual demand. And this is what we can do for the processing time for this demand. And then for A and for B. And then what we did here, we found out what would be the total time needed to meet this demand. So I call it the demand if we used A and the demand if we used B. So this is the number of hours needed per year. And also what we did, we calculated the current capacity A times the 8 times 250 days per year. and that will give you 2,000. And now in order to find out the number of machines, we find out they divide the demand by the current capacity. We say, okay, if machine A is needed 3,900 and we have available 2,000 per year, so we need 1.92. So we round it to be equal to 2 machines. And for this one as well, what we did after calculating the capacity, and again, the capacity calculated or the demand needed is multiplied 1,200 by 2 hours per unit, and that will give you 2,400. And the same thing for the 900 times the 2, that will give you 1,800. Add these together to find what would be the annual demand. And then to find out how many machines, we divide the 4,200 by 2,000. That will give you 2.1. So that would be, you have to round it up. You need 3 machines of B. And in order to find out the cost for that to meet the demand, that would be 2 times the cost for machine or equipment A. That would be 30,000. And now for this one, 3 times the 11,000, and that will give you 33,000. Therefore, in order to minimize the total cost, we need to go with A. This should be selected. And so you have you summarize, you write a one short sentence saying choose A because it has the lowest cost. All right, with that said, I'm going to end my video here. Thank you very much, and I will see you in another video.